and learn. We have two speakers, one of which is here, so we may play around a little bit today. Chrissy Waters from Hy-Vee is a dietitian, works just up the road from us, and is going to give us some ideas about how we might start the new year with some new healthy initiatives. I've given her a little bit of background on our program and some things she might be interested in. And hopefully around 12:30, we'll transition to Linda Hudson from Genesis EAP, who will talk to us about some things about refreshing our thinking habits for the new year as well. So I will turn it over to you, Chrissy.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you?
Hungry.
I'm hungry watching you guys eat. Can everyone hear me, or do I need to use a microphone? Microphone.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yay!
Okay. All right. Signal me, you guys in the back, if you have trouble hearing me as we go along. Okay, so I am Chrissy Waters. I'm a dietitian at Hy-Vee, just up the road. I've been there almost 7 years now. So I know I see some familiar faces here, but how many of you guys go in that store at least once in a while? Okay. So if you need anything and you're in there, just look me up. I'm going to talk to you guys about my services. And I also wanted to introduce Lauren. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Lauren. She's a new dietitian in Davenport on West Kimberly Road. So if any of you guys live over there, she's the one that you'll be looking at. Really quickly, I'm going to tell you what a registered dietitian is, so you know who's talking to you today. So I did my bachelor's degree at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale in food and nutrition dietetics. Go Smokies! And then I did my master's degree in dietetic internship through Eastern Illinois University in Charleston. And the dietetic internship is required portion of training, and that's usually 6 months to a year, depending what program you're in, of supervised practice. So dietitians have to have that bachelor's degree from an accredited program, have to have that internship, and have to pass the national registration exam for registered dietitians. So on the other, and then we maintain continuing education requirements. Nutritionist is confusing. You guys could all call yourselves nutritionists, and that would be okay legally. I can also call myself a nutritionist, but you guys cannot call yourselves registered dietitians. So just be wary if you talk to someone who's a nutritionist and ask them, what kind of training they have. Kind of look for that RD credential to know you're getting the most science-based nutrition information. So. Okay, and then this is the boring stuff. It will get more fun. Our services. So every Hy-Vee store in the Quad Cities has a dietitian or will have a dietitian. We have a couple who just left, so they're getting replaced. So whatever one is closest to you, I encourage you to look up if you guys have questions. We do free store tours. How many of you guys have done that with a dietitian at Hy-Vee? No? Okay, you guys all need to do it. It's very fun. So whatever your concern is, if you have high cholesterol, if you want to lose weight, if you are pre-diabetic, if you have a new diabetes diagnosis, if you just want to know more about that health market organic section, if you have some food allergies, whatever it is, we can walk you around the store and help you with your choices on that topic. Even if you're just looking for some new breakfast ideas for the kids. The only thing we really don't do kidney disease, because that's very specialized, and diabetes. We'll give you an intro, but we want you to follow up with additional education on that too. And then, so just call the dietitian, make an appointment, and that's a free service. Usually takes about an hour. We also do medical nutrition therapy one-on-one, so that's kind of sit down with us and we'll really get into detail for you, and that's for a fee. We also have these Begin Lifestyle Management programs. So it's a 10-week program where we meet with you once a week for 10 weeks. And that's if you're really focused on changing your lifestyle, losing weight, lowering cholesterol, lowering blood pressure, something like that. And we can do that individually, or if you have a group. You usually work departments will kind of be interested in a group for that. We also do presentations like this, and can incorporate cooking too. And we have a club room at our store with kind of a kitchen, so we can do things up there. And then if you biometrics give screens or a little finger stick, and we can do your cholesterol and all that good stuff. So we can do that too. Alright, so all the boring stuff out of the way. Any questions on that, on what we can do? Okay, but we're there for you. Some people say, oh, I don't want to bother you, I thought you were busy. That's why we're there. So email us, call us, stop in, and ask us questions.
I see this sign in a window about food delivery or, meals. What is that?
I'm not, is it called Dish?
Yeah.
Okay, that is not related to the dietitians, but it's kind of cool. You can basically get a group of people together, friends, coworkers, whatever, and in our club room, you can come in, we'll shop it all for you and have all the ingredients there. You guys come in and spend 2 hours or so making everything, and then you bring it all home in freezer bags, and then we clean everything up. So it's like you have a bunch of freezer meals to take home to kind of make life more convenient. So if you're interested, just call the store and ask about the Dish program, and they'll get you in touch with the right person.
Thank you. And is the 10-week program for a fee?
It is, yes. It's $290, which is actually sounds like a lot, but for 10 weeks, it's a really good price. Okay, so my plates. How many of you guys have seen this before? Okay, so this replaced the food guide pyramid that we all learned in school. And it's really focusing on nutrition per meal instead of for the whole day. So in a perfect world, every meal would look like this. What is the biggest difference between this plate and your typical meal? Anybody? No dessert. I think the biggest difference after talking to people is the fruits and veggies. Most of us don't get that many, right? Anybody agree with that? Half of your plate, fruits and veggies, is the biggest goal for most of us to work on. Okay, so we're going to use that in a minute, so remember that. And I'm also going to tell you about New Val. Most of you guys probably know about that. Who knows what New Val is and how to use it? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I'm going to give you a quick overview. It's this nutritional scoring system at every IB, and we're going to use this in a game in a few minutes, so pay attention. So it has generally favorable nutrients like fiber, vitamins and minerals, protein, the healthy fats, all that good stuff. And then the generally unfavorable nutrients. So we're looking at the saturated fat, the sugar, the sodium, the trans fat. And then it also looks at protein quality. It looks at glycemic index, glycemic load. A lot of you guys have probably heard of that. So the type of carbohydrate and its quality. It looks at energy density. So kind of an apple has a lot of good stuff in it for the amount of calories. So looking at that. And it looks at the type of fat, good fats, bad fats. So it looks at everything almost that you can think of. And then it puts it into this very complicated algorithm, and it gives you one number from 1 to 100. So I don't have a picture. On our price tags, it's this double hexagon shape. So right where you look for the price, right on the other side of the tag is this New Val score. That's where you find it. So 1 to 100, the higher the number, the better the nutrition of the food. So very easy, just like a grade in school, remember 100 is better. Sometimes people come to me after meeting with me and they say, hey, I'm using that New Val thing you taught me, I'm looking for all the ones. And that just doesn't work. So remember, the higher the better. So look for that. So it looks at everything on the nutrition facts panel, everything on the ingredients list, and it gives you that one number to make life a lot easier. So you're on the cereal aisle, and you're not sure which one to pick because there's 100 different choices. Look at those New Val scores and kind of hone in on the higher ones, and then pick it up and look at the label and decide if that's the right one for you. So any questions on New Val before I go on?
Are those more expensive too?
I'm sorry?
Are those more expensive too?
It's all over the store. It's on everything. Hy-Vee does pay for it. We didn't create it. We have nothing to do with the creation. It was created by Dr. David Katz, if anyone's heard of him, through Yale Griffin Research Center. And he got a team of experts, the doctors, dietitians, researchers in the health and wellness area. So it's a pretty cool system. All right, protein dairy, and we're going to take Nuval and we're going to play a little game with it. Okay, so this is our sample one. Apple and an orange. Which one do you guys think has the highest Nuval score?
Orange.
Okay. They're the same. Both get 100. So we're going to see lots of really high scores in fruits and vegetables because they have lots of vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, fiber, and for all the good stuff, they're really low in calories, that energy density thing. All right, so you guys get the game? Pretty easy, right? So we're going to go through some more of these. All right, a large banana or a small banana? Which one has the higher score? Alright, I can't trick you guys. So, portion size is not a part of the Nuval system. Everybody's a different size, with different activity levels, a different age, and your portion is different than the person sitting next to you. So, even though a banana gets 100, you may want to look for that smaller banana, or somebody else may want to look for the larger one. So you've got to figure that out, or talk to a dietitian to help you out. Alright, orange juice versus an orange. Okay, you guys are right. How big a difference do you think it is? There's a big difference. So the orange gets a 100, the orange juice a 30. And that depends on the brand, they're all a little bit different. Orange juice is one of the highest scoring juices too. Apple juice is usually around the 10 or so. So why, you guys all knew the answer, why the big difference?
Fiber.
Yep, you guys, I heard lots of answers and you guys said it all. So, sugar. We're looking at 100% juice, so there's no added sugar, but there's a lot of that natural fruit sugar in the juice versus when we just eat the whole fruit. We lose the fiber in the juice. Somebody said another thing, I forget. And it's not as filling, it doesn't take as long to eat, all that good stuff. Doesn't go into the score, but other things for the juice versus the whole fruit. All right, vegetables. How big a difference do you guys think? You're really close. 99 compared to 100. So white potatoes, russet potatoes get a really bad rap, but they really shouldn't. It's the way we typically eat them. How do you guys usually eat potatoes? Baked potatoes with what on top? You guys sound healthy. I'm hearing lots of healthy answers. Salsa, broccoli, butter and sour cream. When you go to a restaurant, it's this big and it's loaded with butter and sour cream, right? Or French fries. Or I think they're the most consumed vegetable in the U.S. Is that right? French fries. So potato is because of French fries. But really, a potato, especially if you eat the skin, has fiber. It's loaded with potassium. It has vitamin C. So it can be a really healthy choice, especially I like it with salsa and plain Greek yogurt is my favorite way to eat one. But look at your fist, and a serving size of potato is probably right around that size. So usually we have potatoes that are way too big. Sweet potato gets a little higher score because it does have more vitamin A, although it has less potassium. And it has a little bit better on the glycemic index, so it doesn't affect your blood sugar quite as much as the white potato. All right, kale or onion? Kale? The same. So I'm trying to trick you guys because kale is very popular, right? It's a superfood. We're all trying to put in our smoothie, put it in our salads, and it's great. I mean, it's 100. It's a great choice. Kale's wonderful. I think, what was that? Kale is a leafy green. So it's kind of like lettuce, but has a stronger flavor and texture. A little bit different. I like it better cooked or in a smoothie than raw, personally. So even though it's a superfood, I think it might have the most nutrients per calorie. I think so. Don't quote me on that one. Of all the vegetables. But onions are too. This is basically saying all fruits and vegetables are good for you. You don't have to spend $100 a pound on goji berries. You can eat an apple and it's still good for you. So an onion is loaded with quercetin, which is an antioxidant that is really powerful against cancer. So it's got a lot of good benefits. It has inulin, which is a prebiotic fiber, which will let good bacteria in your gut feed on. So even something as boring as an onion has a lot of benefits. All right, frozen or fresh green beans? I hear a lot of the same, and you guys are right. So it doesn't matter fresh or frozen. They are nutritionally equal. In fact, sometimes frozen's better because the longer something is sitting there after it's been picked, the more the nutrient content can decline. And frozen is frozen at its peak of freshness. But of course, different uses, different flavors and textures, right? All right, fresh or canned without salt? Nobody says same? Okay, you guys are right. So again, if nothing is added to it, if we don't have that salt in there, nutritionally equal. So in the winter, when you get really bored with the selection of things, don't be afraid to go to that can section, look for the no salt added ones. Or if you rinse something in a can, it takes away about half the sodium, too. All right, grains. What's the key to look for when you're buying grains, eating grains?
100% whole.
Oh, you guys got it. All right. So, whole wheat bread or wheat bread? Yes. So the whole wheat bread would be the better choice there. And how do you tell when you're reading the label? Because a lot of people I take on a tour say, oh, I'm doing good on bread. And I say, well, show me which one you guys eat. And then they pull out the Hy-Vee wheat bread, which is, actually I think the Hy-Vee wheat is made with white flour and whole grain. What you want to look for is that word whole as the first ingredient on the label. And that means you're getting the most whole grain in that. Spaghetti or whole wheat spaghetti? Okay, the difference is pretty big on this one. How many of you guys like whole wheat spaghetti? Good. How many of you guys do not like whole wheat spaghetti? Okay. So there's a spaghetti called Barilla Plus, or Hy-Vee has its own version, Hy-Vee Omega 3. Have you guys tried that? You guys like that? Good, so that's a really good alternative if you don't like whole wheat. It also gets a 91 for a new val score. I call it pumped up white pasta. So it starts with white pasta, but they add whole grains, and they add extra protein, and they add flaxseed, and some other good stuff that makes it a lot better for you than just the plain old white stuff. All right, quick cookie notes in the canister or the flavored instant oatmeal packets. All right, we have a pretty big difference again. Why the difference? Sugar and salt. Salt is added to all the packets too. Now, if you're gonna eat flavored instant oatmeal or a toaster pastry or donut, then that is the better choice. So it's just kind of where you are at and what would be the better choice for you. Or if you're gonna add a cup of sugar to your plain quick cookie notes, you're probably adding more than what's in the packet. So think of that. All right, Special K or Kellogg's unfrosted mini wheats. No frosting.
Oh, no frosting.
This is a hard one. All right, so big difference here. The big difference is because the mini wheats are just whole grain wheat. That's it. The Special K, we don't have as much whole grain, we don't have as much fiber, we don't have as much protein, all that good stuff that keeps us full and powers our body for the morning. The Special K is kind of just good for low calorie. So that's why it's that lower score. It just doesn't give you, how many of you guys have had like a bowl of Special K and then been hungry like an hour or two later? So it doesn't have any staying power or as much nutrition. All right, Triscuit or Ritz? You guys are a smart group. All right, yes, a 31 compared to an 8. Big difference is whole grain. Again, that magic word whole, and then I think the type of fats are a bit different in those. Triscuit's one of the healthiest crackers. So again, Teddy Grahams are made with whole grain, vanilla wafers aren't. And again, the type of fat, I think, the last time I looked at the box. All right, we're going Alright, now this is a really bad comparison because they're both excellent choices. One is not a better choice than the other. I just didn't have the time to do extra slides. So both excellent choices. Any kind of bean, any kind of nut are wonderful for you. You guys like nuts? Almond? I remember the acronym PAW. Peanuts, pistachios, pecans, almonds, and walnuts are some of your healthiest nuts to eat. You can eat the other ones, which is those are the ones with the best fats and the most fiber. Whole egg or an egg white? You guys are good. Whole eggs. They get the same score, but I choose a whole egg. Why are you guys who said whole eggs, why did you say that? Yes, good job. The egg white is very low calorie, but you lose a bunch of the good stuff that's in the yolk. And cholesterol, we don't worry about as much. An egg a day is fine. It doesn't affect our blood cholesterol like we used to think. Saturated fat and sugars and the refined carbs we eat have a bigger impact than actual cholesterol in the food we eat. So we're not as worried about that. So definitely the whole egg. All right, salmon or skinless chicken breast?
Salmon.
Both good choices, but that salmon is significantly higher because of those omega-3 fats. Those good fats in salmon. All right, what about sirloin steak or a skinless chicken thigh?
Steak.
Not which one you would rather have. I hear a lot of steak. You guys are good. So beef has had a bad rap too, and got a lot of good research on it. Did you know that I think it's half, 2/3 of the fat, I think, in the beef is unsaturated, it's good fat. And of the saturated fat, I believe it's 1/3, don't quote me on my percentages here. I believe it's 1/3 is actually a type of saturated fat that's neutral, that's not going to impact your cholesterol positively or negatively. People who have done this lean study about lean steak, who ate it every day and compared it to a DASH diet, which is kind of our gold standard for a healthy diet, actually lowered their cholesterol just as much as the people eating the gold standard. But the key is to make it part of that my plate, right? So you've got a little bit of lean beef, maybe like a beef stir fry. Then you have a lot of veggies in it, and you have your brown rice. So not going to a steakhouse and eating a 16-ounce steak and a giant baked potato. And so just kind of rearranging those meals, but definitely can be a healthy component. A brat or lean burger? You guys are right. The burger. So big difference there is those processed meats are very high in sodium. So that's the biggest thing affecting that delicious brat. All right, dairy. How are we on time, guys?
We're good. We are going to end at 12:30.
We're going to do 12:30, perfect. Okay, we're going to do quick dairy, and then we're going to do some questions. Vitamin D whole milk or fat-free milk? Fat-free still gets the higher Newell score because of that saturated fat in the milk and the number of calories. Both have equal amount of vitamin D, equal amount of calcium, equal amount of vitamin A. All right, do you guys want to do yogurt real quick? Okay. We've got a bunch of different types of yogurt here, so I'm not even going to ask you guys which one. I'm just going to outline how they fit. It's a personal decision. Yogurt is really tricky, but this kind of gives you the Newell scores. So you've got the low fat or the plain or the regular Greek. It's flavored, with the lowest Newbound scores because of the sugar. Those are going to be the highest in sugar. Then our light yogurts, 100-calorie Greek yogurts, those are going to be very low sugar, just the milk sugar, with either an artificial sweetener or a natural 0-calorie sweetener like stevia or monk fruit extract. And then we've got our plain ones, which would be your best options really, but they taste like sour cream, so most of us just aren't going to snap on one of those unless we've gotten used to it. So very tricky in the yogurt aisle. All right, so any questions for me? You guys have a couple minutes. Yes?
Just out of curiosity, dried fruits, I mean, you talk about frozen vegetables, but dried fruits versus, I assume fresh fruits, tons better, but how many tons better?
So like the score for raisins, I think it's an 81.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, but it has to be a dried fruit with no added sugar. Most of our dried fruits have a cranberries or a 4 because of the sugar content. So very high scoring if they have no added sugar. Yeah?
Where do you come down on the debate between natural foods and combinations of tasty chemicals?
Newbound scores don't look at that. So that would be something separate.
So Ladder-Light's butter is all right still?
Actually, if it's the tub, they have taken out the trans fats in almost every kind of tub margarine, and that was our big concern for health with that. It's still in a lot of sticks. So absolutely, yep. I skipped that slide due to time, but the promise, I can't believe it's not butter, most of those margins score higher on the Newbound system than butter.
Where does rye bread fit in with whole wheat? Is it better?
That's tough. The rye bread we sell at the store is not whole grain. So it would be lower score than most of our whole grain breads. But if you made it homemade, say, rye can be a whole grain flour. So you could have great rye bread choice. Unfortunately, we just don't carry one. All right, guys, I think I'm out of time, so I will pass it on to your next speaker. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chrissy. We really do appreciate you coming today and sharing your knowledge with us. We do have some business cards that Chrissy left behind at the back table if you'd be interested in following up with her individually. She'd be happy to meet with you, answer questions, do all that kind of thing. So thanks again. I'm going to turn it over to Linda Jones from Genesis EAP. And Linda's going to have a tough act to follow. I don't know if I don't know, maybe it's good news or bad news. But Linda has been our partner here at Augustana for, I think we've finished 4 years together. The EAP benefit is something that many have used and have expressed that this has been a great benefit for them. I just did an exit interview with someone who said, you know, if I had one suggestion, it would be that Augustana should have an EAP program. And I was like, oh, if only we had talked sooner. So it's something that we wanted to continue to remind all of us about the variety of services they offer. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Linda, and I'll get to work passing out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. Some of you might know me and most of you don't, but I am a counselor with Genesis Employee Assistance Program. The reason I'm here is I'm the assigned counselor for Augustana. So if anytime any of you just have a question about the EAP and you don't want to ask Laura, just call our services. The paper she's passing out. Basically, the 6 different office locations are available to any of you. The benefit is for you, your significant other or spouse, and or any of your dependents. So it's a counseling program. A lot of employees ask me, the first question is, does my employer think there's something wrong with me? And the first thing I have to say is no. This is a proactive approach. Employers today recognize that if employees take care of the situation that may be bothering them today, it won't, at some point down the line, maybe decrease your productivity, maybe increase your absenteeism, or work-related injuries. So employers today employ us to do the counseling so that any of you can use our services for any problem. We look at it as there's never a problem that's too big or too small. It's just a problem. A lot of times people will ask me, well, what's a problem that would warrant coming into the EAP? And I say, if it's an issue for you, then you can bring it to us because it doesn't matter. Sometimes people are hesitant to use the services to talk to a counselor. And again, on your paper, you know, this white one, any 6 of our office locations, you can call any of those numbers. If any of the counselors aren't in session, they'll talk to you at the moment. Every day, one of the counselors has a crisis appointment, which means, let's say, your teenager runs away or your husband moves out and you need to talk to someone right then. Well, we do have a crisis appointment available every day. Our office locations, of the 6 different office locations, again, you can use any of them. Because of the metropolitan area, we have them in DeWitt, Clinton, Rock Island, Muscatine, Davenport, and Bettendorf. I work out of both the Rock Island office and the Bettendorf office. The most important question people have for the EAP is, how do you make sure that our employer does not know that we use the services? Well, Laura trusts that I can count, and I do a good job of that. I count the number of people from Augustana that come in to use the services. I have access to who's ever using it for number count, and I report the number of people who've used it. Because it's like any other benefit, if people don't use it, you lose it. Somewhere down the road, they say no one's interested in it. So, again, I really encourage you, if you have an issue, to use our services. The problems we see primarily are in regards to relationship sort of issues, maybe difficulty with teenagers, difficulty with parents. We have a lot of people in the workplace today who are kind of in the middle. They have their parents they're taken care of, and their children they're taken care of, and sometimes even grandchildren. So it's a generational sort of situation, and they just feel overwhelmed. Years ago, people used to use their family as more of a resource for generating ideas of how to help with different things. But today, our families are so spread out, employees today will use the EAP services. One of the benefits of having Genesis EAP is on the orange sheet here is our legal referral service. Anyone who has a Genesis EAP benefit, who has a legal concern, we would want you to call us. You have to be screened by one of the counselors, and the reason being, it cannot be a grievance against your employer. I mean, that just makes sense. They don't want us to refer you to legal services and it be a complaint against them. So the counselor screens the call, and then we refer you to our legal care services. It's free to you. Again, the counseling is free. Your program that Augustana has for you is unlimited access, so you can come to see the counselor for as long as you need to resolve your issue. All right? The benefit for you is there's never a diagnosis. We are not required, because we are EAP specialists, we do not have to diagnose you. We don't access your third-party insurance. We aren't on their provider list. We don't have to do that, so therefore we don't have to diagnose. So there's never a record trail for you. Okay? We are separate from, we are employed by Genesis Health System, because years ago we started in just the health system. But we also have, we are in-house counselors for the Genesis Health System. There are 5,000 employees, and external to about 200 other companies here locally. All right, so our legal care services, if you were to use us for that, you would call, the counselor would screen your call. We then get you in touch with our, the counselor sends the paperwork to our office out of Texas, and then the attorney in Texas, we get your state of residency, which is very important, because the attorney that will phone you back is familiar with the state that you are living in, because a lot of us live in one state and work in the other. So an attorney would be versed in your state of residency legal concerns. He will answer, or she will answer, any of the questions you have at no charge to you. But if that attorney then refers you to a local attorney, says you need someone who can go to court for you, who can advocate for you, or you need paperwork drawn up, then the attorney that he refers you to will give you a 25% discount. And at $250 an hour, that's pretty significant. So that's another benefit for you. On the green card, it's basically just a resource that we have. I would encourage any of you to use it. If you have any sort of financial sort of issues or concerns, You can talk to a financial advisor or financial counselor who can help you maybe balance your budget or anything like that. If a person has to go into like bankruptcy or anything like that, the EAP do not pay for that, but they will give you a resource locally that you can access. Okay, any questions so far? Morning, guys. This is a quiet group. What might you want to know? You want to know what people come in to see us about? Yes.
I was curious, we haven't gotten that far yet, but the Learning Center, is that a learning center for kids and adults?
What are you referring to?
On the resource, green resource sheet, talks about Learning Center.
It's basically just an educational site.
Oh, it's a site?
It's a
Oh.
site, it's a
Ah,
website,
okay.
right? You will access it on the internet. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that.
Okay.
You access the site on the internet, and the directions are down underneath there
Alrighty.
on how to get to it. But it's just an informational site, gives you different learning sort of tools, all based, of course, on
Learning tools and
finance.
resources, basically?
Pardon me?
Kind of learning tools and resources?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, did everyone understand that question? Okay, all right. That's a great question. And I apologize, I didn't make that very clear. The attorney services, we did have a situation several years ago where he was not, they were contracted with us, so they returned your call within 24 hours. We did have a situation, and it was with one of my clients, that didn't get the returned call, and I followed up with it, and Hurricane Katrina went through, wiped their office out, so they were down for about 24 hours, but we're back up and running. So they've been really reliable. We've had them for about, I think, 13 years, somewhere around there. They've been a great resource, helped a lot of our clients with a lot of different issues. And the beauty of it is if you were to call him today, and then you had another question a month from now, you can still call that same attorney with the same number he'll give you to call and ask continuing questions for as long as it takes for you. So that's, I don't know if any of you have ever accessed an attorney, but they can be quite expensive, and they charge you for every second on the phone. Yes?
What kind of training do the counselors have?
The counselors, all of the counselors with Genesis EAB, we have master's degrees. We're licensed in both states. We're a combination of counselors and social workers. So it depends for the licensure, which you are. In Illinois, it's a two-tier step. It's a licensed professional counselor, which is an LPC, or a licensed clinical professional counselor. And then in Iowa, it's an LMHC or an LISW for the social
But
worker.
not psychologists.
No, we don't have psychologists. Psychologists are the difference between the different disciplines. Psychologists primarily are trained in psychometric measure. So when you go to see them, they give you different assessment testing and then compare you to the norm of the rest of the population to tell you what your problem is. And then they tell you what you need to do about it. And that works for some people. Again, because we're counselors, we listen to what the issue that has brought you in. We help you decide what's most important to you, and then we work with what you think is important and how you want to deal with it, which is significantly different than the other disciplines. The psychiatrists, they prescribe medication, and they use a medical model. People always get it confused. They use a medical model so they are listening, and they don't do a lot of listening because psychiatrists usually have sometimes up to 30 patients in an hour. Okay, so they're not listening, all right? They briefly hear what you have to say, find something wrong with you, and what prescription can they give you to take care of your problem. Right? Yes?
I would just have to beg to differ. I am a clinical psychologist, and certainly a difference is that we are trained to do psychometric testing where other fields are not. But we also definitely are listening to people and do not always do psychological testing unless there's some particular reason to do so. So,
Okay,
just
that is true. And the population that the psychologists see, it's a much different population than we see in EAB. We don't see the psychotic disorders. We don't see basically we don't have a lot of personality disorders, spouses that are leaving or arguments, communication sort of things. So both of the disciplines, not that psychologists can't do what we do, we just don't do what they do. Okay, we don't do the psychometric testing. We do basic, like we do a bed depression inventory for someone who might be depressed. We do anxiety, but we refer to a psychologist if the issue, one, is not short-term, because we do short-term solution-focused brief therapy. And psychologists, to my understanding, don't do a lot of that. They do more of the long-term. So if we have someone who needs more long-term, we always refer to a psychologist because you have the training in it and we don't.
Is there a limit on the number of sessions you provide employees?
The question is there a limit on the number of sessions? It depends on the model that the organization has with us. Augustana has unlimited access, so they can come to see us as often as they want for as long as they need to have their issue resolved. But let's say someone comes in, they're arguing with their spouse, they're not getting along with their children, and they hate their job. Those are really different problems, all right? So they can see us, and we try to focus on what areas causing you the most problem, which one do you think you are the most dysfunctional in. So we, again, solution-focused brief therapy. We help them to identify where they want to start. We get that resolved. Most of the time, we don't see people beyond. Our model is, if we see someone beyond 6 sessions, we staff it with a clinical supervisor. So it's usually 6 sessions or less. A lot of times, it's 2 or 3 sessions. It just kind of depends. But let's say they've come in, we've resolved it in 1 or 2 sessions, the communication with their child. Usually that involves them bringing the child in, right? And then they want to bring their spouse in. So then there's additional sessions. But generally speaking, we don't usually go over 7 sessions, and it's always focused on very solution-focused. We don't ever explore, I shouldn't say ever, but generally we don't explore what happened years ago unless it's connected to what the person's dealing with. Say they have a death in the family today, and they're having a horrible reaction, but it may be related to the death of a parent 10 years ago. Okay, so they're having issues that are brought up. Those are different. So we do sometimes go in the past, but generally it's in the moment. Does that help explain that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good question. Yes.
Under caring for the elderly, and enough people in this room know my mother, I'm looking at you, Shara, that I have to make it clear it's not about her, but if you're dealing with an elderly family member who is in another state, a whole other region, is it information? Is it an information resource under that heading? Or?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, it would be basically, like we would give you ideas probably, depending on where the area is, what resources and where you might check to find out what care is available. Like the Genesis Health System, we have VNA, or we have different resources that we use here in our community. The counselor might help you with what in your mother's hometown might be available that would be comparable services. And generally speaking, for a situation like that, we would get you in contact with maybe the social worker at the hospital who really deals in that in depth and to a degree that she would have access to whatever would be available. So a lot of times people will use us as just simply as a resource to find them or help them find someone in the community that could maybe help their loved one. But again, if let's say you have a situation with your mother and you want to bring her in, we welcome that too.
Oh, don't get me started. Then I inflict her on, Shara, and they go drink.
Oh, yes. Did you have a question? More questions?
Linda, we've been talking a lot in our office with some various employees about how easy it is to get kind of brought down by the cold, gloomy time of year. Do you have any general ideas for staying positive and negative wind chill temperature weather?
Well, we can be happy, first of all, that it's not last year because we had I think it was 38 days of no sunshine, and a lot of people were affected by that. So I guess, just different things like that, Laura. It is a difficult time. It's right after the holidays. There's a lot of hype around the holidays. That's sad for some people, but most of the time, it's just the winter months. It's cold, we're not getting out, we're not as active, we're not going places, we're not doing things, and so that kind of tends to wear on people. Whatever problems they might have intensified during these colder months, probably because they're not as active and they're not socializing like they normally would. So it depends. If a person calls and they're just really sort of feeling down, those are the questions I ask them. Well, what do you normally do? And when they tell me they're a swimmer or they're a boater, it's like, well, since that's kind of hard right now, any chance getting a Y membership and maybe doing some swimming, so at least you're doing the things you enjoy, but doing it in an indoor setting. But most people who have, say, grown up in this area or from the Midwest, we all know that January and February are very long months, and none of us can wait till March. So we all know that, but it's the people that are affected by it, most of the people just coming into the area. Maybe they've transitioned in. It's unfathomable to me why someone would move from Florida to the Quad Cities, but we do have some of those, and they are seriously stressed over the winter months here, because it seems to last forever. Yes?
I had a friend who was affected by the change of the seasons, and she had light therapy, where she had broadband light therapy, 20 minutes a day minimum, and it really helped her like crazy.
For like the seasonal affective disorder?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, that's helped a lot of people. And again, that's what psychologists do, help a lot of people with the seasonal affective type of disorders that are chronic, they're chronic disorders. The people I see are more, they're just down, it's just gloomy, they don't like it. Or they have a small house and 8 people in it. They have things in their lives that are going on that are making them feel more down. So we just try, they don't have any diagnosable sort of conditions. So, but basically, and I don't know that any of us have ever had someone with true seasonal affective disorder to refer out. I have not personally, but I would if I thought every year, same time of month, same, more seasonal sort of thing, they're feeling down, I would truly recommend them see someone who's skilled in seasonal affective disorder that could be in contact with light therapy. Because I have read a lot on that, and that seems to be very helpful for those people. It's the lack of sunshine, and so that's why the light therapy helps them. And again, last year was a real test because of all the days without the sunlight. So, yeah, and cold. Any more questions? Okay, yeah, it was terrible. We had a terrible year last year. So right now with the EAP, the holiday season has been kind of hard on a lot of people. Again, because the economy is down, didn't have the money they thought they would have, or they spent money they didn't have. So this is pretty much our busy time. There are a lot of people with a lot of, we have a snowstorm and we have people who they don't miss an appointment. They can't wait to get in to talk about what, how bad their holiday was or something. Deaths at this time of the year seem to affect people much worse. And like all of our professions that deal with mental health, there seems to be seasons or times when things affect people more difficultly than at other times. So I think any of us in the business kind of know those seasons, and we wait for them. They're pretty much like clockwork. So, but your EAP again, and like Laura said, she had someone today who didn't even know you had one. So if, say, you're talking to a colleague and they're talking about issues, because a lot of times that's what we do. We share with the people who are around the most. We spend more time with the people at work than we do generally with the people at home. So they are kind of our family, so to speak. And when someone's telling you about maybe an issue they have, maybe your colleague or your coworker is not in this room today, and they're telling you about a problem with their child or a problem with their spouse or a family member, you might be instrumental in saying, hey, we have an EAP. It's on the website. All of our information is on the website, so if you lose your cards, there's a lot of other ways. Laura has my cards. I think it's our numbers are posted on your website, so you could refer your friend to that to kind of give them a little help. Again, because it's free, never costs them. They do not have to be diagnosed. That will get people in the door. I have a lot of people who will come in not realizing they have some issues that could be diagnosed. And then we talk about potential ramifications of that, and then get them to the proper services in the community that is they're best likely to help them. So We have a lot of people who will bring their children in, or if the problem, we're pretty flexible. If the problem's with their neighbors, I encourage them to bring their neighbor in. I mean, you know, it's hard to deal, if the problem's with someone outside of the office, to deal with a one-on-one, you don't have any way to gauge how that's helping that person. So we encourage them to bring the other people in if that would be most helpful to them. A lot of times we have people, one person of the marriage comes in for marriage counseling. It can work, it just takes a lot longer for it to be effective. And then you're only getting one person's take on how effective it really is. But it's variable. We have a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons that come in to see us. Again, a lot of people will call because they're not comfortable. They're hesitant or they're scared, or they have this idea that going to a counselor means they're sick or they can't handle their own problems. For men, all you guys in here, that's pretty traditional. They think, well, if I go see a counselor, I'm not man enough, I can't handle my own problems. That used to be the case. We're seeing less and less of that now. I have a lot of young people who come in, and that's just been part of their life. They're real comfortable coming in to see a counselor, which has been wonderful. So all people, all ages, all of the counselors, we have different areas of expertise and different areas that we focus on, but again, we see all people for all reasons. So Laura, can you think of anything else? Might be
Other
helpful?
questions for Linda today? The only other thing I would say is Linda's also been able to help us when there's been conflicts within a work group, something where she could come in and work with your intact work group as well, or bring in a couple folks together to work out some things. Not that I would think anyone here, I mean, for your friends, for the people that aren't here. But we've really enjoyed having EAP as a resource. I've told many people that I barely survived the teenage years with our youngest son, and so Linda was really helpful to me personally as our family worked through, a definition of rule versus guideline, those sorts of things that you might have experienced as well. I'm sure Linda would be happy to hang around if any of you have individual questions. Someone asked me while Linda was speaking about, is this available to part-time employees? And so our EAP is available to everyone, full-time, part-time. We've even had some temporary employees that were in temporary crisis that they were gracious enough to kind of bring into our contract as well. So certainly available that way. We do have additional copies of any of the cards that we passed out if there weren't enough at your table in the back. If you did not sign in, we won't be giving you wellness points. So if you didn't sign in, be sure to do that on your way back. The Wellness Committee is always looking for different ideas for Lunch and Learns. We're pretty committed to doing at least one a term. So if you have some ideas about topics that you'd be interested in, by all means, either share them with Ashley on your way out, send us an email, give us a call. We'd be happy to hear from those. And thanks again for your time today.